our chief guest, the group CEO of KCB PLC, and Madam Caroline Wanjeri Kihara, who visited us and left us a little excited, together with your entourage of, I believe, a dozen old Stareheans, if they could stand up. And men of Starehe, we acknowledge them with a 3 factorial. Thank you very much. Our patrons representative, Ms. Judy Kibaki, the chair of our managing committee, Mr. David Mureithi, members of our managing committee, including my counterpart at Starehe Girls Center, Sister Jade Soita. Sister, if you could stand up and we acknowledge her with a 3 factorial. I keep telling Sister that you want to spend more time with the girls. And we also have other members of the managing committee present. Mr. Murada Kenodia, and Mr. Architect Jared Odwalo, and all other guests, all Stareheans, our members of staff here in Starehe, and our ladies from Starehe Girls Center, and men of Starehe, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I am pleased to present the Director's report for our 63rd Founders Day. In this report, I endeavor to capture the context we have been operating in, the modest achievements made during the year, the challenges we continue to face, and what we can expect in the immediate future ahead. The defining context of the last year is overwhelming pressure. Felt by everyone in the school system in Kenya, students, teachers, and non-teaching staff alike. During the same period, we have gone through a transition in government that introduced a fair share of uncertainty and unscheduled time away from school. We saw the escalation of the Russia-Ukraine conflict and its reverberations around the globe, made worse in Africa by a devastatingly long drought that has significantly increased the cost of our operations. All this at a time when our resource mobilization was constrained by the after effects of COVID-19 and the related economic challenges experienced by sponsors, parents, and curveballs from unexpected quarters. During this period, the crippling shortage of teachers has become worse. We are supposed to have 69 teachers from the Teachers Service Commission under the curriculum-based establishment. We only have 38. An overwhelming shortage of 31 teachers, occasioning undue pressure on the remaining teachers and considerable cost to the center. It is exactly 1 year to the day since we last met here on 13th November for our 62nd Founders Day. At that time, we were in the first half of the second term of the 2021 academic year. Over this last year, we have covered 4.5 terms of learning, a feat which would normally require 14 and a half months to accomplish. In that 1 year, we concluded the 2021 academic year, presented 269 candidates for the 2021 KCSE examination, engaged in a number of co-curricular activities, and we are now only 2 weeks away from completing the 2022 academic year as the boys head home on the 26th of November 2022. We are also getting into the full swing of the 2022 KCSE examination, with papers commencing on the 21st of November and concluding on 22nd December 2022. We expect to commence the 2023 academic year on 21st January 2023. That compressed academic calendar has been experienced by a group of students who are still reeling from the psychosocial issues arising from the nearly 10 months they spent away at home in 2020. They were thrown back into that environment, sitting the KCSE and marking both KCPE and KCSE. The adults expected to provide support were themselves battered by personal, relational, and professional pressures, including unprocessed grief. Everything was moving too fast to even get sufficient time to mourn those dear to us, parents, close relatives of our staff and students, former members of staff like the late Mrs. Rebecca Ishiwani, who was a teacher of English literature in the 70s, and the late Mrs. Agnes Kangede, who was a teacher of biology and Kiswahili, and in 2005, she moved to be among the pioneer team at Starehe Girls Center, where she served as deputy director until her retirement. During the last year, we have also lost a number of alumni, a long-standing supporter in the late Honorable Charles Jonjo, our patron of 53 years, His Excellency the late President Mwai Kibaki, and Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, who you will be happy to know also had occasion to enjoy the PT display that you have just seen when she visited Kenya on 26 March 1972. Her Royal Highness the Princess Royal, Princess Anne, has visited the center no less than 4 times. In all these difficult moments, we have been uplifted by the support and unity demonstrated by the entire Starehe fraternity. We have proven to be true the adage that people indeed are wealth. Here in Starehe, we do not hide our pain and our loss. We ask each one of us to acknowledge that we have lost a physical relationship, that we still hold lasting memories that leave us with a mix of joy and sadness, and we still live in the hope of realizing the dreams which we shared with those who have departed from us. This is what we have committed to do here in Starehe, constantly reflecting on the lives of our founders and those who served before us, their character and the dreams they have or they had for Starehe. May I ask all of us to be upstanding and observe a moment of silence in remembrance of those who have departed from us physically, but whom we continue to hold dear in our minds and in our hearts. Let us celebrate the lives they lived. Let us commit to carry on for them and for ourselves. May the Lord rest their souls in eternal peace. Given the challenges presented by this context, we determined very early on in the year to turn back to the tenets bequeathed to us by the founders: sacrificial service and single-minded commitment and focus on the mission of Starehe, which is to provide care and education for boys in need and inspire them to transform into productive and exemplary members of society. Over the last year, we have invested considerable time and effort in deepening understanding, ownership, and commitment to this mission of Starehe. We held 2 external events with all our staff, first to brace ourselves for the time ahead, and then to celebrate the results delivered by the class of 2021. The cohesion in this team and their commitment to the mission of Starehe has proven that no challenge is insurmountable when the people work together as one to achieve their goals. This team is led by a senior leadership team that is working to keep alive the spirit of sacrificial service and single-minded focus to the mission of Starehe. I would like to introduce this team. It includes the tireless man, full of energy, Deputy Director Fred Okono, Head of Student Welfare, who is the father of the boys, spending lots of time with them, Mr. Patrick Waithaka. Head of Finance, providing the resources that we need, Mr. Maurice Achach. Head of Academics, Mr. Samuel Njiri. Mr. Njiri is now assisted by 2 members who have joined the senior leadership team as his assistants. Mr. James Mwangi, who covers the academics program, doubles up as Senior Master 4 and Head of Examinations. Mr. Obala Kalu, who supports Mr. Njiri as the Deputy responsible for administration. In this team also, we have 3 Senior Masters. Senior Master 1, Mrs. Beatrice Nyakeriga. Senior Master 2, Mrs. Cecilia Kiprop. And Senior Master 3, Mr. Joseph Dede. Vertical leadership is provided by heads of departments and subjects who ensure curriculum delivery and effective evaluation across all levels. May I invite all heads of departments and heads of subjects please to be upstanding for recognition with a hearty 5 factorial. Thank you very much. Every member of staff has done their part during this difficult year. What you have seen here obviously cannot be achieved by one person or a small group of people like the senior leadership team. It is a team effort. From teachers who come as early as 5:30 a.m. to help the students cover the syllabus and deliver remedial teaching, to the security team who maintain round-the-clock surveillance to ensure that we are all safe, the grounds, transport, and maintenance staff who maintain our campus and get us to where we need to be. And most of all, the kitchen staff who have to be up as early as 3 a.m. to ensure that the much loved burger or bread is baked and ready to be served at breakfast. May I ask all members of staff of the center to please be upstanding, and men of Starehe, let us recognize them and appreciate them with a very hearty 7 factorial. Thank you very, very much for your commitment to serving the mission of Starehe. In delivering this mission, we pride ourselves in the foundational principles of freedom, trust, and self-leadership, enabling each person to do the right thing without bidding from anyone. The team of staff, as well as the boys, all monitor performance along 4 key result areas: accounting for lives, care agenda, inspired transformation, and academic pursuits. In the interest of brevity, I will only provide highlights and subsequently hope to publish a commitment I've made to the SCAN team, a bumper issue of SCAN to capture the full details. Accounting for lives requires us to keep track of every boy in the center. Within half an hour, we should know if the boy is not where he is expected to be. This is done at house level, in the dining hall, in class, at morning and evening parade when we hold them, during preps, and in the clinic. This year, we welcomed amongst the boys we are accounting for 305 Form 1 boys into Form 1, rising from the 280 we used to bring in. And currently we have a total of 1,130 boys in the center out of the 1,135 boys expected to be in the center. 3 boys are currently away, while 2 did not return at the beginning of the term for some of those reasons that I explained earlier affecting young people. Under the care agenda, care is synonymous with Starehe. When the center was established in July 1959, it was first and foremost a place of safety and care for boys in need, with education being added later when the school was established. Hence the name Starehe Boys Center and School. We provide accommodation, food, healthcare, and a welcoming environment where we build fraternity and relationships that last well beyond Starehe, sometimes even up to the last rites, and in many cases even beyond those last rites, where the brothers continue to look after the families of the departed colleagues. The care agenda has been pivotal in building trust between the staff and boys, making it possible for the students to share some of the issues that have deeply impacted them and denied them peace of mind over the last year. We referred a number of boys for psychotherapy, and after some initial resistance due to the stigma associated with it, we have come to embrace psychotherapy and seen those affected transform and live a purposeful and meaningful life focused on their highest aspirations. There is no shame in seeking such help. What is important is to cultivate trust, get an assurance of confidentiality, and interventions that seek to restore self-efficacy. This is one of the most important responsibilities in the center, and we intend to engage a full-time psychologist to supplement the capacity of our guidance and counseling team. I would also like to especially commend our team of staff in the clinic who have offered sacrificial service in continuing to protect the life and health of the boys, patiently attend to all their health issues, and deftly manage the high demand for those special diet notes. Under inspired transformation, Starehe was established as an institution whose fundamental objective is to impart and entrench the values of the Starehe mint mark. The essence of Starehe is transformational character building based on personal responsibility and accountability, guided by self-discipline and self-leadership. To do what one knows to be right, to celebrate and learn from the results achieved at every level. And this part of the mission is especially why many economically able families that can afford alternative private schools prefer to pay premium fees to bring their children to Starehe. Every activity in the center is intended to cultivate the values of the Starehe mint mark, from the duty and service in the house, in the dining hall, in class, and in the compound, to our enthusiastic singing of the school song and hymns, as well as personal engagement in games, clubs, societies, and adventure activities. All these provide opportunities for engagement and for leadership, for growth from a basic level to mastery that can attract global acclaim, as demonstrated by our famous brother, Paul Reng, who won the gold medal in the Seoul Olympics in 1988. In some cases, these co-curricular activities become the basis for future pursuits, as we heard from a number of visitors at Baraza. These are also important in assisting students to reclaim their peace of mind, including getting at least 6 hours of sleep every day, because sustained sleep deprivation in schools presents a real risk of triggering mental health issues. If I were to go through every achievement in this area, I would keep you here all day, so I'll only give some highlights. But before I do so, let me invite the student leaders of all clubs and societies and their patrons to be upstanding. Please stand up quickly so that we recognize you. Even though we may not report everything you have done, we recognize the important role that you play in the center and the vibrancy you bring to inspired transformation. Let us all recognize with a very hearty 7 factorial. Thank you very much. You may sit down. Very quickly, you have seen the school band. It is a mark of Starehe representing us and did us proud in seeing our patron of 53 years off during the last rites, participating in various events, including at the Mashujaa Day celebrations. And as you have seen, they are a wonderful, wonderful team. They give us life here every single day and week. Please recognize them with a hearty 5 factorial. The St. John Abilas team, led by Alexander Moneki, has achieved national acclaim. Both our junior and senior teams emerged as the national winners at their competitions held in Nyeri on 29th October 2022. In sporting activities, Mr. Ferdinand Onyango and the games captain have facilitated several internal and external events. We had our sports day on 18th June, where we were able to identify at least 30 students to participate in competitions at county and regional levels, and 2 of our students showed outstanding promise Gabriel Mwendwa of 4D, and Suleiman Abdi of 2C. The President's Award scheme has been outstanding, receiving no less than 70 gold awards presented by His Excellency, the 4th President, Uhuru Kenyatta, on 13th May 2022. They have also held bronze, silver, gold expeditions, projects, where at least 48 boys participated in each event. The Scouts movement has also been busy under the leadership of their patron, Mr. Michael Muremi, and overall Scout leader, Captain Muruki Masharia. On 25th June, they hosted an investiture event where over 100 Scouts were invested, participated in community service, hikes, fruit tree grafting and planting, regional and national competitions, emerging winners at the regional level, and second nationally. The center is a member of Round Square, which is an international network of 230 schools in 50 countries. 3 of our boys, supported by Mr. Patrick Waidaka and Ms. Elizabeth Pamba, participated in the 2022 Round Square International Conference held at Oxford University from 19th to 25th September 2022, and they joined 1,200 delegates from across the globe under the conference theme, Take Less and Be More. This was based on the global experience under COVID-19, where the world had to live with less, and the conference emphasized that true happiness comes from giving rather than receiving, and we should not focus on self, but on service to others. Junior achievement has been busy as well, and our boys have enjoyed their products. Junior Achievement is a company program that empowers students to solve problems in their community and teaches them practical skills required to conceptualize, capitalize, and manage their own business venture. Under the able leadership of Ms. Inviolata Nabwire, together with her team of directors, they have secured career shadowing opportunities at Nation Media and conducted several internal sales in the center. Spiritual growth is also an integral part of the inspired transformation delivered by the center. Whilst we do not permit boys to change their religion declared at admission without the consent of parents and guardians, and with the approval of the director, we allow them to deepen their understanding through daily worship and progress through various stages in their personal journey of advancement through their chosen faith. In fact, today we made an exception and allowed a few boys to go for a confirmation ceremony this morning. Finally, we had 17 boys qualifying among the top 100 in the 2022 RISE Global Competition, and when the final 100 were announced, only 2 were from Kenya, and one of them was our very own James Nyaga Gatia. His certificate of recognition cites that he is among the top 100 outstanding people selected from over 80,000 applicants, demonstrating exceptional brilliance, perseverance, empathy, integrity, and a calling to build a better world. That team was supported by Mr. David Degwa, Ms. Pamba, Mr. Dixon Dungu, and one of our alumnus, Nick Masila, who spent long hours here in the center. We will be presenting that certificate to James amongst the prizes. Under academic pursuits, I have already alluded to the punishing calendar we had to live with over the last year, leaving very little time for rest and renewal, and increasing the risk of stress in the system. Thankfully, our students and staff responded wonderfully, and the class of 2021 continued with the upward trend that we have seen since 2018. Although theirs was only marginal improvement compared to our target, they achieved 9.4461 compared to a target of 10.5 and previous year 10.43. We nevertheless celebrated the improvement in grades of B- and above, which increased from 225 in 2020 to 235 in 2021. Based on the qualifying grade of C+ and above, 251 students qualified to transition to public universities compared to 250 in 2020. Our academic team have lived up to the spirit of sacrificial service, and we expect to continue with this upward trend in 2022. And at this point, I will ask the candidate class of 2022 to be upstanding. This team has been working very well. We call them the elders of Starehe. They provide leadership, and they have set themselves a very ambitious target of 10.7481. Senior Master, Mr. Mwangi, has worked with them, and I invite you to go and pray for this target to be achieved and hopefully exceeded. Let us acknowledge them with a hearty 7 factorial. May I invite our chief guest to help in presenting the academic awards based on those results. In the humanities award, the best department in that category was history. And I will invite Madam Roslyn Mukachi Simiyu to come and pick for the team. History achieved a record 11.1368 in KCSE 2021. In sciences, the department that emerged top is biology with 8.8944. I will invite Mr. John Nyongesa and Madam Topista Sabina to please come forward to receive.
But hakuna zoom lens wako mbele kwa nini? Nasema kuna zoom lens wanaenda mbele kufanya nini? Mimi nikienda mbele yako nasikia poa. No, you guy. So nimesikia inabidi nasikia. Siwe peke yako, hii yako shida yako kwa media.
In technicals, the computer studies department achieved another record of 11.8857. Let me invite Mr. Peter Wahome and Mr. Humphrey Bayagi to come and receive the present. In compulsory subjects, Kiswahili emerged top with 9.6394% points. May I invite Madam Damaris Manzi-Kita to come and receive for the department. Right. In the Teacher of the Year, we have a number of teachers here who I want to recognize, and I will invite all of them. Technical subjects, Madam Janet Wandoe. In humanities, Mr. Aaron Kemboi. In science, Madam Inviolata Nabwire. In compulsory subjects, Mr. Evans Randa. Much loved man. He is not here to receive his 5 factorial. Oh, he's here. Okay. Please let us recognize Mr. Randa with a hearty 5 factorial. In the team that supports all of this, safety and security, we recognize Mr. Ali Godana. In health services, I believe it is on account of, yes, that service, Sister Alfin. In grounds and maintenance section, Mr. Josephat Jumba. In transport and travel, Mr. Benson Kenyanjui. In the academic support section, Mr. Tommy Muli. In the boarding section, Mr. Peter Changara. In catering,
Kijana. Mtolee kijana Malcolm.
I hope this was audited, eh? Mr. James Baraza. Right, let us acknowledge our chief guest with a hearty 5 factorial. All of this required resources and accountability. In the audited financial statements for 2021, our income was 183.7 million compared to 98.7 million in 2020. Our supporters really came through. The Ministry of Education remitted Kenya shillings 16.2 million compared to 13 million the previous year. Starehe UK 16.1 compared to 6.6 the previous year. And the Griffin Memorial Endowment Trust contributed 15.8 million compared to 7.8 in 2020. I don't know whether there are any trustees from GMET present. Okay, let us recognize them with a hearty 3 factorial. We also received in 2021 14.7 million from alumni through the old Starehe Society, represented here today by their president, Mr. Martin Usumba. Total expenditure for 2021 amounted to Kenya shillings 148 million compared to 92 million in 2020. And the financial outturn indicates a surplus of 35.6 million in 2021 compared to 6.7 million in 2020. These results reflect the focus on efficiency and value for money that the entire leadership team has brought to the running of the center. I would especially like to recognize Mr. Patrick Waithaka, who makes sure that the boys get food with quality food at reasonable cost. Let us recognize him with a hearty 5 factorial. Based on the last management report that we have seen as at 31st October 2022, we are at 154 million in terms of total income compared to expenditure of 146 million, leaving only a small surplus of about 8 million. This reflects the increased activity this year. As you have seen, we have had 4.5 times the increased costs and the environment of constrained resource mobilization affected by those matters I raised earlier. We remain deeply grateful to our sponsors and donors who have made it possible for us to deliver the mission of Starehe in these very difficult times. We have contributions from the alumni in the diaspora who contribute 15 sponsorships. Let us recognize them with 3 factorial. We have contributions from the class of 87-89, which I would like to single out, and if they are present, this class visits us every single month and presents a check of 140,000, which is what it requires to sponsor 1 child in 1 year. So over this last year, they will have sponsored 12 boys. Let us recognize them with a very hearty 5 factorial. The class of 1986-88 has sponsored 10 boys. The class of 1994-6, the class of 1984-4, and the golf team, again under the old Starehe Society, 4 sponsorships. In total, we have 105 sponsorships from various alumni. As we look ahead to the next year, there are many challenges that lie ahead and which we will need to give our attention to. The crippling shortage in the number of teachers available to us must be addressed, especially if we are to transition to junior secondary under the competency-based curriculum, CBC. That remains an area of uncertainty. You are aware there's a presidential working team that will come back with proposals on how that will be managed, and we expect, hopefully in their first report expected at the end of this month, there will be some clarity as to what will happen with regard to CBC. In the event we transition to junior secondary, it will mean, if we continue with the 100% transition, that we will have to bring in about 610 students, 305 in Form 1 and 305 in grade 7. That would also require us to invest in infrastructure. We were at some stage in attracting that financing, but because of the uncertainty now, we have to hold back. We need to raise about 120 million to put up a new dormitory to accommodate 320 students, as well as to furnish and provide new facilities for the expanded school. And this is critical for us because although CBC is slated to progress as day schooling, if we are to maintain the character of Starehe, drawing boys in need from the 47 counties of Kenya, we need to be able to have facilities to accommodate them in the center. Resource mobilization will remain a high priority, and we will be reaching out to organizations around the world to come to our aid. And at this point, I would like to introduce an individual I am pursuing, and the managing committee is pursuing, to work with us in this particular area. This is the lady who brought us Masai Ujiri, and we hope will bring us Barack Obama. Please welcome briefly Ms. Vivian Onano.